Cafe Anyway show.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
What are you doing here? Microphone smells like a beer. It's Mike Matthews here, Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in Podcaster Valley, the last place on earth.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Am I being a little whimsical? I might be. My name's Michael, and I do a show for you, and I do it like I'm on a tricycle for everybody, juggling, maybe a unicycle. It's rumbling. 3137 is the FF episode today. 3137, that's the show.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Number. So tell all your friends that this guy here, Mike Matthews, does a whimsical type show for you
Mike's
to listen to.
Daily
I
Podcast.
never go to sports.
Yeah.
Unless I get to go for free. Somebody's going to take me because I'm a cheap person. But I also work in an industry where we do a lot of sports broadcasts, and sometimes I get invited, so I'll go. And I have a great time, and I get to meet the people behind the scenes that I'm working with, that I talk to on the phone all the time, and I get to see them in person, and then I get to see the game, and that's cool. I like that part. I don't care otherwise. Some of you, that's your escape. You work hard. This is the way you play hard. You go to the games. And I don't really like the way it promotes two things that are not good in society. It promotes drinking and maybe some other drugs that are imbibed with at games. And it promotes gambling. I'm not a fan of that. You can lose people's lives, and households have been wrecked by gambling. We've known it for time immemorial and all that. But people still like to escape and watch the games on TV or listen on the radio or watch online. But the average cost of the resale ticket for that MLB All-Star game this year was, this shocks me, $1,183. So,
and here's today's podcast picture.
There's definitely money involved. The podcast picture is not of baseball or any sport that should be out there. How about of me, since I am the host of the show, and I've done it for oh so long, 3,137 FF episodes, 3137. And yeah, I have to be in the podcast picture every now and then. See it at mikesdailypodcast.com with all the other past podcast pictures. There's some past podcast pictures of this guy with the paws. Who we pause for. The late great Basil the Boxer. Always so much fun. He was such a great dog. And someday I'll get a dog again. But right now I'm rocking with Rocky the cat and Patches. Patches is the completely feral cat that adopted us. He was just hanging out in the neighborhood, and one day we befriended him and he was cool. And then we knew we had a certain job, a commitment to the community that we had to do, so we caught him in a cage, which he did not like, and had him fixed by there's a couple organizations in the Bay Area that will fix cats that are stray, that are feral, and then they clip the tip of the ear and they re-release them so they get to go back to the habitat they were in. It's just that they're not going to produce any more cats, because cats can produce cats like the way, almost as bad as the way rabbits can produce rabbits. Like hey, I'm multiplying, said bugs. So yeah, that is what we have. I enjoy those pets and all of those, and that someday we'll get a dog again. But sports.
Is that why you're bald, Mike?
Because I don't have a dog?
Oh.
That's, yeah. Get out of here. Who let that guy in the cafe anyway? So the home run derby average ticket cost about $1,041 this year. That's nearly double the price of the previous All-Star game that happened in Seattle 2023. So people blow a lot of money on the gambling, on the booze, on the food and whatnot in the stands. Maybe they're spending money on whatever marijuana or whatever stuff beforehand during the tailgate party. Oh, I know that's going on because I can smell it for sure. It's wafting over from the parking lot. And then there's the whole thing with just the amount of money it costs to actually go to the games, etc. But hey, it is a sport. Everybody needs an escape, right? And I guess, I just did the millennial right, even though I'm nowhere near being a millennial. But that's okay. You millennials, you've got an influence.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
You've had a little bit of an influence on this planet with your millennial right. It did not exist until I did hear that Courtney Cox, was it Monica that she played on Friends? She said right on an episode of Friends, I think back in the early 90s. And then in the Gilmore Girls, they were saying right all the time. And I think a lot of those CW shows, they were saying it. And I think that is how it infiltrated. Some writer on one of those shows said, hey, why don't we just put right at the end of a sentence? And somehow that infiltrated our society because all the millennials that were watching the CW back in the day. Remember was it the UPN? Was that one of them too? All trying to be Fox, but they did not outfox the Fox. But the 40-year-old OG, that stands for original guy, right? No, original gangsta? Really? Okay. We're celebrating gangsters now.
Hey, good looking. We'll be back to pick you up later.
Oh, no. At least we're not celebrating Mr. Microphone. That was a thing from the 80s. Do you know? Did you ever see the commercial for that? It was quite moving. The movie Original Gangster featured Steve Guttenberg, by the way, just because you needed to know that important information.
Anyway,
Café Anyway, the abbreviation OG, stands for Original Gangster. This term originated from the American gang culture in the 70s. Isn't that horrible that gang culture influenced our language, our words that we say day in and day out as we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth in the land of Meritoptica. It is used to describe someone who is the founding member of a gang or crew. In popular culture, it signifies respect and is often used to refer to someone who has achieved success while remaining connected to their roots. This according to howtogeek.com. I just don't like the gangster reference. I'm not a fan of gangsters. Oh yeah, so my uncle, the late great Uncle Yop, who he's at the beginning of every podcast. He's the one that says, "I'm going to sing you another song." He and his granddaughter is the one that sings or says Mike's Daily Podcast at the beginning of the show. I remember he taught me to say in German, "München ist ein Gangsternest." Basically translating that from German to English, Munich is a gangster nest or a gangster land, basically. And I would say that to my aunt, my wonderful Aunt Angela, who sadly passed away much too young. But I would say that because I'd say, "Yup taught me how to say this," and she'd laugh. She goes, "Don't say that to anybody else." But there you go. I just said it on my podcast. So I don't know if I really did say it to anybody else, but I said it on the podcast. So there you go. But the Birkin bag made by, is it Hermes or Hermes or Herms? We'll say Herms. Inspired by Jane Birkin, is a coveted status symbol.
Mike is awesome.
Among the wealthy. Oh, and I got it from that story I got from that guy right there. That would be Rob Black. I produce his podcast. He is heard on AM 1220 KDOW on Monday through Friday in the 5 o'clock hour. And he's on Cron TV Monday through Thursday in the 9 o'clock hour. When I'm looking up Jane Birkin, I get the actress. That's not the same person that made the book. I mean, the purse, is it?
It's a trap!
I know, starting to look stuff up on the internet is a trap. You get stuck in this rabbit hole. It is the actress. Okay. So the Birkin bag was created by the French company Hermes in 1984, following a meeting between Jean-Louis Dumas, who was the CEO of the group at the time, and the actress Jane Birkin. Handmade usually in leather, it is distributed in several sizes and exclusively at the stores that are run by Hermes. It was actually founded, that company, in 1837. And it was a saddlery and harness maker. Yeah, because, everybody had horses. Well, I guess the well-to-do had horses. This was pre-cars. So if you wanted to get around, that's what you needed to have. Saddlery and harnesses. And they were made by Hermes. So, and then in 1984, they had another huge historical moment when they made the Birkin bag. And that was after that chance meeting. At the time, the actress was known for carrying baskets that held more belongings than a conventional handbag. She inadvertently spilled the contents of her bag and complained about the impracticality of handbags in general, especially for a young mother, without knowing who she was standing next to. The Jean-Louis Dumas, the CEO of Hermes. At the time, her youngest daughter, Ludoilion, was 2 years old, and Birkin wanted a bag big enough to hold both scripts, because of all the movies she was doing, and diapers. Jean-Louis Dumas suggested she get one with pockets, to which she replied that Hermes doesn't make pockets. He then exclaimed, "But I am Hermes." Taking advantage of the coincidence, Birkin asked him why the company doesn't offer a bag 4 times larger than the Chely. And the Chely bag was the other one.
Makes music.
I don't know anything about purses or French companies. Je ne sais quoi. There you go. That's my little song. Okay. Yeah, the Chely bag, known formerly as the Sac à main de voyage, is a leather handbag designed by the Paris-based high-fashion luxury goods manufacturer Hermes. The bag was redesigned several times before it was popularized by and then named after Grace Kelly, the actress, and the Monegasque princess. And it is now an expensive status symbol. So purses, everybody, purses. But what else can you say about this amazing and elusive Jane Birkin, who's immortalized by this purse? She was a native of London, and she just passed away 2 years ago, by the way. She began her career as an actress appearing in minor roles. In 1968, the year I was born, she met Serge Gainsbourg while starring with him in Slogan, which marked the beginning of a years-long working and personal relationship. They then released a debut album called Jane Birkin, Serge Gainsbourg in 1969, and then she appeared in the film Je t'aime moi non plus, and that was in 1976 under Gainsbourg's direction. She mostly worked in France, where she became a major star, and occasionally appeared in English language films. Ooh, I have never seen this. Oh, I saw that. But I never saw the 1978 version of Death on the Nile. Oh, and she was in Evil Under the Sun. I did see that in 1982. I went to the Sherman Oaks Galleria when it still existed, which was the epicenter for all the ways, all the Valley Girl talk and the Valley Girl accent, which proliferated the world proliferated, and then it took over all of the way of the language of the speak, of which all young ladies speak forever, generation after generation after generation. In fact, so much so that you listen to NPR, who got all their funding cut from the government, and you listen to the reporters on National Public Radio, and you will hear that same Valley Girl accent, even from like these very well-to-do, accredited news people. They have the Valley Girl accent. It all goes back to that Sherman Oaks Galleria, where I saw Evil Under the Sun with my mom, that featured Peter Ustinov as Hercule Poirot. And I don't know if did he play him as well? Yeah. In Death in the Nile? Yeah, Peter Ustinov was in that. I should see that since I saw Evil Under the Sun. Both Agatha Christie novels. I know. Peter Ustinov makes me laugh too. So she starred in both versions of those Agatha Christie, or both of those Agatha Christie adaptations, Death on the Nile and Evil Under the Sun. I will have to look that up. That is fascinating. And the purses and France and everything goes back to her, and that and this fascinating story that I just brought to you, but is now 40 years old. And it sold, the original one sold for a record-breaking $10 million at an auction. So it goes without saying that there was probably a bit of mystique around that famous bag after all that I've just told you. And then, of course, there are the hoity-toity status symbol type people that want that kind of thing. But let's just say you want to send a letter to someone and tell them, hey, I want to take a cruise on the Nile with you and see if somebody gets shot. And then they throw the gun overboard. And who did it end up being? I forget. I saw the Hercule Poirot, David Suchet version. I think last year we were watching that. My lovely lady friend, we got caught up on all the Poirot episodes.
What was that all about?
I was talking about things you need not ask.
Relax, guy.
So, but the U.S. Postal Service upped their prices again. Did you know? This happened about a month ago. The Forever stamp went up 7%. It is now 78 cents. I remember when it was just a dime. No, I don't remember that far, but I seem to recall maybe 25 cents I paid for a stamp at one point. But there's a variety of domestic shipping services that have seen similar increases. Increases will support tech updates, staffing, and these increases in the price of the stamp will support tech updates, which the U.S. Postal Service really needs, staffing, and customer service improvements. And finally, record high coffee prices surged to an all-time high just a few months ago in the month of May, hitting $7.93 per pound of ground roast coffee. That is why getting the coffee is so expensive. Now,
hey there, Mike, how are you?
I'm good, except I don't have my coffee because it's so expensive. But coffee a year earlier was at about $6, so it shot up almost $2 in a year. Prices are poised to keep rising on upcoming Brazil tariffs. Outside of Café Anyway, somewhere in PodCastro Valley, in the land of Ameritopka, here at the last place on earth, it is someone visiting us. Who is it? Hello, my gosh, it's Madame Rootabega. I love coffee. Ooh. Do you love Agatha Christie novels? Yes. Do you love David Suchet? Yes. Do you like Kenneth Branagh? No. Kenneth Branagh also playing Hercule Poirot, as did Peter Ustinov. And once upon a time, Albert Finney did it too. And a couple other people, but those are the most memorable. Here's one last interesting story that I picked up.
What is the matter with you?
I just keep finding stories. I'm sorry. Americans are increasingly skipping restaurants for cheaper food options. They're eating cheaper and skipping restaurants. Households have tightened up their spending on groceries and dining out. Restaurant sales have been down, feeling the effects of sustained levels of inflation, poor consumer confidence, and smaller budgets. In fact, in the past 5 years, menu prices have surged 31%. Did I just say something and it didn't quite sink in? But it is massively important to realize that it is true and to keep this number in your brain for always and ever. And yes, it's true. Here is the number once again, 31. Just think of the old TV show 30-something. That had a catchy little theme song, didn't it? I vaguely remember. Okay, yes, I would never watch 30-something again. But it was so cool and new and different. Oh,
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
It didn't show astronauts stuck in space somewhere, but it showed what the yuppies were going through. So that was interesting. Back in the... When was that? The 80s, right. I remember watching that with my mom, and I was still basically a teenager, and I thought, is that what being in my 30s is going to be like? Yikes. Okay, 30-something. So remember the number 31, because in the past 5 years, menu prices have gone up 31%, and that's just inexcusable. Yes, prices always go up. I understand that. But 31% in just 5 years, there's no reason for that. And we certainly ain't got the time for that. Increased menu prices paired with less money to spend has created strain, particularly among the lower income families. Consumers have been snacking less and increasing their purchases, right. Increasing their purchases of value products like store brands. They're not getting the name brand products, the brand name products. Americans are trading in dining out for more meals at home. And check this out. Frozen pizza sales. Yes, those things you get at the supermarket and you bring home, stick in the freezer somehow because they're big. It's hard to get them in there. Those have gone up. The sales have gone up for those. So that goes to show people are eating at home more. And the U.S. frozen pizza industry generated approximately $7 billion in sales last year. Grocery costs remain almost 30% higher today than they did pre-pandemic. That's right. So even grocery costs have gone up as the restaurant prices. So, but Mike, does that mean that I might as well just go out to eat since prices have gone up with the groceries? No, you're getting charged for a bunch of other crazy stuff too. And remember, restaurants added a bunch of other fees and whatnot to their menus during the pandemic and after, and they never take them off. Sometimes your grocery store will drop prices. Restaurants never drop prices. Unless it's a fast food chain, occasionally they have the power to do that, and they'll disguise it by saying, hey, make sure you download the app. And you click on this thing and go, blah, 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 and spin around 3 times, and we'll give you a discount of 30 cents. Back to the number 30. But Walmart and Dollar General executives have recently noted that they have experienced a boost from higher income households deciding to go to Walmart and Dollar General. When I lived in Alabama for 2 years, we shopped at Walmart regularly. They had a big grocery store section. Well, a lot of Walmarts do. They didn't in California at the time, so we were pretty shocked. This was in the late O's when we discovered this. And we were, oh, wow, you can get all these different things at Walmart, and it's less expensive. And they also had the same thing with Target before Target was... This was in Alabama, and then eventually California got the grocery stores. They put them into the Targets. But I don't know if prices are much cheaper at the Targets. My point is, look who else is here.
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parenting attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Mike, the last show that you did was called Skies Day.
Yeah, Skies. Do you know that? Yes, it was skies. We were looking up to the skies because we were discussing UFOs and nope, spaceships, nope. Something to do with, oh yeah, space industry. Oh yes, the Firefly company that they did an IPO and they debuted their stock, initial public offering. And their stock did really well. I don't know how it's doing as of the listening that you are listening to this podcast, how they are, but they did really, really well in the beginning. And they are based in this area called Cypress Park, I think, something Cypress in Dallas, near Dallas, Texas, actually near Irving, Texas, which is next to Dallas. And oh my gosh, my lovely lady friend and I were there. It's also where Nokia is. And there's a really cool, it's very nice, huge building. Well, there's huge buildings around there. I guess a lot of tech is around there, but really nicely recent construction, I would say, and cool architecture. And there's this big lake, and we had a little lunch at a place called Flying Saucers. Sometimes you hear me say, or you hear that thing, Flying Saucer.
Flying saucer.
And there was some great food there, and it was also a brewery, a craft brewery, microbrewery type thing, a tap house, if you will. And there were people coming in, they all look like tech people. And my lovely lady friend and I are staring at them going, wow, they have they have techies. They have tech bras in Texas. In Texas. Texas. Okay, we get it, Mike. All right. That was an amazing thing. I discovered that they were based in Texas, as now you've got Elon Musk in Texas too, of course, the SpaceX and all that. So a lot of space industry has moved to Texas, and successful type space tech in Texas is happening. And that's about where we'll end the show. What do you think about all that? Here's the number to call.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
And with all things having to do with Mike's Daily Podcast, we go to the mainframe and hear from A-Frame. Thank you for listening to the show. It's been a pleasure serving you.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye!